Still has the gun he's landed.
There were many events which were quite historic.
I have a dream. Senator Kennedy has been shot.
Perth changed dramatically in the 60s. Up until Eric Edgar Cook and the mass killings, Perth was a free city.
Perth, city on the Swan. Charm and glamour mark an appeal that is distinctive of the capital of Western Australia.
Very quiet place. People still getting around in their pinstripe double-breasted suits in the middle of summer.
Some of you have remarked about the ladies' hats and their dresses. I wonder what they'll say in 50 years' time when they look back at these pictures.
All of a sudden, Perth literally became a city of terror.
A mystery gunman shot 2 people dead in Vincent and Louise Streets, Nedlands.
I don't think we've seen the city before or since gripped in such a way.
A 3rd man was critically wounded and the gunman fired upon 2 other people sitting in a parked car.
I think it was a fear born of utter helplessness because people just didn't know where this killer was.
The gunman vanished into the night as mysteriously as he had arrived. He left few clues.
I know of stories of people actually crawling to the door and peeking out through the window. It was genuinely a very, very frightening period.
Berlin recaptures the desperation. Technology has made great advances.
Holocaust Inferno Fireball. Who can adequately describe the scene here dwelling up today?
We had cinders being fired 500 metres ahead of the fire, and the town was totally devastated.
Stories to be told here today in Dwelling Up are varied and sad and shocking.
We looked out and we could see the flames leaping right around.
Most of them lost everything. There was just a shell of a town.
It shall be the policy of this day on TVW. Thousands of people gathered at the marriage.
I begin to think that although you poor simple people have been voting for me for 15 years...
Robert Menzies was one of the world's great orators.
You've been voting for an utter fraud.
There were always people prepared to interject at Menzies, but they did it at their own risk.
Chap down here, clever fella, very clever chap. And who caused all this trouble with Malaysia and Indonesia? I said, well, I suppose I did. My name must be Sukarno.
In the Bustleton area, swollen rivers broke their banks to extend the front.
One of the most significant events that took place in Perth was the demolishing of the barracks.
The wave of controversy and the storm of protest.
There was a public outcry, and, I mean, there were protest marches.
State's cabinet seemed bent on demolition.
It happened, and WA's the poorer for it.
My guess, Simon, that would probably never happen today.
Just amazing, really.
It was. But among the news that made headlines on 7 in the 60s, we had a lot of laughs as well.
We might not have realised it back then, but Channel 7 was producing its own early version of reality TV.
As a result, we were spellbound.
I am Martin St. James, and with the help of some volunteers from our studio audience, I intend to show you tonight how, when the human mind is uninhibited, anything can happen.
Presenting Martin St. James with Spellbound.
It was exciting. There were new frontiers to be breached. There was no worry about what would happen if we did this. We could just do anything.
When I count to 3, you will all try hard to open your eyes.
And we did. Amazing, chaotic. But when we edited it all together, we had a program. We discovered 2 characters.
We have here 2 gentlemen who we actually believe are from the moon.
These people were supposedly hypnotised, and they spoke in a different language.
Would you ask him what he come down to Earth for?
But only his friend could understand what he was saying.
What did he say?
He's a male.
The program was sold to the eastern states, and I think, from memory, it was banned in Victoria.
The moment you get back in the audience, you'll think you're a ladies' underwear salesman.
They thought that maybe the people who are watching could indeed become hypnotised.
Sadly, the last day of our current trip to the west.
Shipwrecks of the early days and the adventure. This is Sounds Alive.
Stars of the Future was just an amazing program.
Just take my hand and come along with me.
Girls and boys who had any musical talent at all would come along and do their stuff.
It was really ahead of its time because we would have all these children involved in choreographed performances.
Coralie Condon and Max Kay were the judges.
I think if you can lose your inhibitions and really let your voice go, you've got a very bright future indeed. Thank you very much.
There was some wonderful talent that went through, and it sort of built up during the year to a grand final.
The grand final is only about 6 weeks away, and the prizes to be won are great. There's an HMV portable television set valued at $199.
I loved it. It was an amazing experience. I got to sing a little bit.
It was a really popular show. We won a Logie for it. But then Johnny Young came along and he nicked it. Is he here?
Who's on the program, by the way? We've got the Strangers, of course.
Club 17 provided me not only with my start in television, but it also provided me with my start in the music business.
It was an incredible program. I mean, some of the guests we had on that program were of international standing.
The Dave Clark Five, Bob Dylan, Peter, Paul and Mary, Normie Rowan, the Playboys, the Easy Beats.
Any pop star that came to town went on that show.
Wow, how incredible. My band did all the music, and the joint was rocking, going round and round.
With us for Tom's TV Showdown.
We'll tell you about
I'll be back next Wednesday, not looking like Bette Davis, I hope.
Fans of Perth and Fremantle, the fastest growing stores in the West, present Reach for the Stars. And now, meet Jeff Newman.
Well, Reach for the Stars was a comedy quiz show which involved contestants doing silly things
Hands and making a noise like a car, drive it around the market.
and answering almost sane questions.
It's worth 14 points. What is the national drink of Russia? Vodka is right, yes.
The contestants were racing against the clock all the time.
When they do, they run down to our star wheel like this and give it a spin. There we are. That's the first spin of the evening.
Stuart Wagstaff came over as a special guest.
Oh, he's marvellous, isn't he? Brilliant. Bring another star back. It's a stunt worth 16 points. Here is Teeny, our stunt girl. I want you to do a stunt with her. Yes. Quickly, off you go. Do a stunt with her.
But it turned out to be a winner, and it was a great show.
Jeff Newman, Gary Carvolth, great to have you with us. So much came out of these studios, didn't it? I mean, it was prolific back then. For a little place on the edge of the earth, this was, like I say, it was like Broadway.
The weekends here were absolutely amazing. You'd have dancing girls, you'd have musos, you'd have everybody coming in. We'd have a children's show, we'd do a talent show, we'd do It's Academic, we'd have a football show on a Sunday morning. Everything used to happen right here in the studio.
Well, people find it hard to believe. I think these days there's approximately 80 on the staff. In its heyday, there was close to 500.
Amazing.
You know. Huge.
The worst thing is I can never get people to call me Mr. Reeve on It's Academic. I don't know what it is. It's a sign of the times. They all call me Simon these days. So, but back then it was always Mr. Newman, wasn't it?
Yes, Mr. Newman, number 13, Mr. Newman.
Whatever. He used to insist upon
it. Indeed. Well, Mr. Newman, Mr. Carvolth, it's been great chatting with you. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks, Simon.
And we'll be back after the break with the boy from Bassendean, the man who gave us the wobble board from these very studios.
Holding in the lap, tiny kangaroo down. Tiny kangaroo down. Tiny kangaroo